Some dive. It's a good run by Josh Jacobs. All right, let's see. Shotgun. Looks like we got tight end the right. Also got Hunter Renfro here. Um, running back lineup here. You have a 5 or a 7, depending on how you look at it. I just call him. I'd call him a 7 in this case, but not wrong either way. Yeah, 3 is kind of tilted, or he just hasn't gotten set yet. You also have a 3, and you have a loose 5. Really, more like a 7 if there was somebody here. So they're just getting lined up. So you have 2 3s, and you have 1 A gap defender, which would be Tahir Whitehead, the linebacker, which means this A gap is open. Now, either they're running a stunt or they haven't figured out what they're going to do yet. Okay, they move. Okay, that's good. So now you actually have 1 A gap defender, 3. Okay, cool. Everybody's set. You have nickel personnel still, bum ass safety, actual safety, and I believe that's the nickel. All right, so let's look right to left. So this looks like maybe some type of hot route option type of thing, or like some type of RPO. So I mean, I guess he wasn't really open. He was kind of open. All right, right tackle. I mean, for all intents and purposes, that was a pretty solid block. Um, he's blocking more for the pass than the run. His hands shoot entirely too high. You really want to shoot your hands like under here, and you want to work up. All right. Pass pro set actually is pretty decent. It maintains inside leverage. He's got a good base. He's bending more at the. He's keeping his chest up. He's kind of bent at the waist, but not in such a position that he can just simply get push pulled. Um, does get good extension. Again, I would rather your hands be down here instead of his hands be under you. But yeah, inside leverage, yeah, that like he had him in his entire play. That's an otherwise solid block by the right tackle, right guard. What the? All right. So comes off the ball. Now I talk about looping hands. All right. The reason why I say I'm not a fan of looping hands isn't just because I don't like looping hands, but like this is a great way to get called for a hold. Like this is just bad, and people who coach this frustrate me because I mean, like I said, it's a great way to get called for a hold, and also you really don't maintain as much control because you grab him by the like back of his shoulder pad. Like what are you doing, man? Just grab the inside of his shoulder pads. Like that's you have better control that way. Like you just have better leverage and better power than you do here. Like this is relying on all upper body strength. If you have your elbow in, your thumb up, and you have your power inside, then you can maintain better control and probably prevent some shoulder injuries. If we're really telling the truth. All right. He kind of steps to him. All right, you wind up. I mean, otherwise the fit wasn't the worst. He got his hands inside of him, but he did give up inside leverage, so he was kind of battling back for that. Didn't really move his feet very well. Um, Man, that just wasn't it. Good Lord, I don't like that block. That was not a very good block. It did it just because like he didn't make the play. That doesn't make it a good block. Center. Damn. Hot rod. All right. My man steps over, snaps the ball, gives ground a little bit, and it looks like he's working with the right guard like they did earlier, trying to do like a takeover type of situation where the right guard gets a solid piece of him, gets his shoulder right inside of him, and sends him over to the center. But it looks like the defensive tackle is either The defensive tackle is a pretty solid football player, knows what's going on, and decides he's just going to go ahead and backdoor this thing and just sheds Rodney Hudson's block instead of really deal with Rich Incognito's block. And you know what? I respect the hustle. If he was a better athlete, maybe he would have made this play. But it does mean that. But really, what doomed the center on this one was his feet. Like his feet being right here is already problematic. If his base was anything like the left guard's base, he wouldn't have been able to swim him, and he would have, if anything, gotten himself pushed this direction. But because his base wasn't very good and he was leaning way forward, he was able to get kind of push, pulled, and swam, and force the running back to bounce the ball in a way that it doesn't look like he looked like he was supposed to really run through here. All right. So before we talk about it, all right, left guard. I think what probably now it's not unheard of to have a frontside guard block the frontside linebacker. That's not unheard of. However, I don't think that was necessarily the design of the play, just because like I said, it's just not typical. Like, I personally don't perceive this being a design, because to me it just seems like a strategically bad move unless you can guarantee this center is going to overtake this guy and the guard is going to guaranteed move up to second level and get leverage. Like, that's the only way it quasi makes sense. But in this look, I guess, it would work out perfectly because the linebacker decided to hang out because he is the B gap defender. Well, he's kind of both the A gap and B gap defender, because literally nobody's back here. Like, he's the backside three technique is kind of two gapping it, and I guess maybe I don't know. That's kind of an odd look, but A gap is definitely taken away, so he has to kind of just hang out and just be there for whatever else happens. So this would have set him up to really have a very real problem. And with Rich Incognito, he does he steps hard inside. That's what it looks like. I imagine his foot actually gained ground here. He does get his shoulder down and gets his shoulder a good piece of him right here to send him over to the center. Now the center didn't help himself out, but this is actually functionally a good technique on sending a block over on not really a double team, but an overtaking situation. Now, what he really should have done is stayed square and maintain leverage, and he would have been actually able to just take this linebacker on just fine. But the linebacker having decent instincts, recognized what was kind of happening, so it was easy just to dump him. Easy day on the linebacker's part. Unfortunately, had he had a stronger base and just because again, this is where you really need a better base and you just need leverage. If you can just get it in his way, that would do a lot. But again, he didn't. So initially was great. First level was good. Second level was terrible. And like I said, we talking about the second level blocks do get kind of weighed differently because those are decisions you have to make on the run. But where you might get credit is really if you're making a smart football move. So this is a smart football move to try to work right up to this linebacker as soon as you feel this dude is gone. So sure. Though I guess it gets partial credit because he was going to the right direction. The problem is he loses the rest of his credit, because he wasn't on. If he was falling down on this side versus this side, different conversation. But his hips are over here, not over here. So that's just not very in our financial better interest or cash money, if you shall. Left tackle. The fuck's up with that stance, dog? Bro. All right, Jesus freaking Christ! You might as well just put Sam Young at left tackle, because he just looks stiff at this point. All right, comes off the ball, steps right to him. All right, fair enough. Hands coming from way down south, maybe not the best move in the world, But when you step right to him, he's already lost inside leverage. This is, I guess, my beef. He's already lost inside leverage by the time he gets to here, and it wouldn't really be that big of an issue, except he's like a wide five, dude. Like he's damn near a seven. Like he is. If there was a tight end here, he'd be like on the tight end, or maybe even like outside of the tight end. Like, dude, like he'd be maybe just inside of the tight end. I don't know, but even then, like it's easy to get leverage because you don't have to do too much. Because instead of maybe stepping way out here, you step more vertical and just maintain leverage and just help him out. Because unless you were trying to seal him, which it doesn't look like he was, this is like it wasn't this block that ruined this play. It was this block, far and away, dude. Golly, like what the man? Like everything else about your shit was just bad. And fortunately, your running back is like cognizant enough to bounce the shit out, but he wouldn't have even had to do all that. Because again, like when you're talking about football from a tactics perspective, especially up front, the less you have to really do, the better things actually are. And when I say less you have to do, it's like the sliding scale for blockers and guys up front is that if you have to think more on a block, it's usually probably easier on your body because it means you're probably working like second or third level type thing. And you have to like know when to bend it, know when to like work to different positions and work to get leverage. But it does require you to think a little bit more, or you're running screens and stuff like that. And if you don't really have to think so much, it means usually there's somebody right in front of you, and that is your job. All right. So that, and the less you have to think means usually like the harder it is on your body. So, but even in this case, like it's not even so much, but the where you kind of make up for how hard it is on your body is you make up for doing a little bit less. Don't step so far outside. Don't step so far at him. Just meet him. Step right at him. Just do something. Steps right at him. Gets his head on the wrong side. Doesn't get leverage. Comes in high as a kite. Hands atrocious. Knees stiff. Waist bent. Head wrong. Like feet. Actually, no, feet are bad too. Everything was bad. You deserve to get beat. You brought that on yourself. You didn't have to get beat on this one. He didn't have to look like a good defensive lineman, but you made him look like a good defensive lineman. And you got away with one because you got just enough of a piece of this dude. He got just enough of a piece of this dude. And oh no, we gonna talk about you, Henry Ruggs. What the fuck was this, man? What the fuck was that? Okay, that's a solid block by the rookie. All right, I see you 8-9. Because you see, if things were done right, maybe the only person who would have had a functionally like, if this play was blocked any bit correctly, the only two people who theoretically should have had a real chance of making the play would have been number 21 and number 52. And even then, the people who really would be making the play would be bum ass safety or actual safety. One of these two would have been the ones who ultimately would have made the play, like if it was run correctly. Because what it looks like is there is a clear running lane here. You maintain leverage. He works up to this backer, and there's a solid like running gap here. So maybe 2-1, 3-1, or 3-3. Somebody would have like maybe he would have had to come to Jesus with a couple of people, but he's running up north and south instead of running east to west. Instead, he has to run to the west, and here we are. Good run, but at what cost?